call the roller of big cigars, the muscular one, and bid him whip in kitchen cups concupiscent curds. Let the wenches dawdle in such dress as they are used to wear, and let the boys bring flowers and last month's newspapers. Let B be finale of seem. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. Take from the dresser of deal, lacking the 3 glass knobs, that sheet on which she embroidered fantails once, and spread it so as to cover her face. If her horny feet protrude, they come to show how cold she is and dumb. Let the lamp affix its beam. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream.
Thank you. Loved the way you read, and dumb. It brought out for me all of those M's, all of the sonorous M's of beam and ice cream. But before, so I hope we'll go back to that.
As a young child, the rest of this, of course, has changed over time as I read it again and again and understood it differently in different parts of my life. But I think that was the initial draw.
And there's a celebratory tone to the poem. It feels like ice cream day.
Right. And it's an emperor. It's like, the king of ice cream, which is so nice.
And as a child, that didn't baffle you, or, it didn't seem too abstract.
I don't think I even asked that question.
Uh-huh.
I think I loved the rhythm of it. I loved the
Call the roller of big. I've always heard W.C. Fields or somebody saying, call the roller a big cigar.
Yeah, and I think, when I was little, before I sort of understood the sensuality of the first paragraph, to me it was like a circus. I saw a circus, and the emperor was like the ringmaster. And so that was a nice image of, the big cigars and the muscular ones and the flowers and I didn't even know what a wench was at that point, but, women in dresses, and it all sounded like a big circus. It's sensuous, exciting, celebratory, muscular and concupiscent, like who uses the word concupiscent, and boys with flowers. I mean, there's a lot of kind of almost intimation of, there's definitely an intimation of sexuality through the whole first thing, which of course I didn't see as a child.
Gusto that attaches to food and sex, and a largeness and a spontaneity, which is completely different from the day to day.
Right, and the second paragraph to me symbolizes much more the kind of death of his own, probably the counter to his imaginative and sensual side. And apparently he and his wife, and she was quite beautiful. She was the model for the Liberty dime, I think, or something. Yeah. I don't think they had a very close relationship as their life progressed.
I think she didn't like poetry. So there's a kind of starvation.
Absolutely, in the second
that one feels in this poem, where all of the gusto and robustness of physical life is conjured in the first paragraph, and then
contrasted by this death and this, and the woman who's died is old because she has horny feet, and the sheath is covering her face to show how cold she is, and dumb. There's that sense of this lack of the kind of imagination that he celebrates in the first paragraph.
Yeah.
And he's reminding us that about this, the only emperor. So like this death, remember during this death that the only emperor, the only real king is ice cream. But I think one of the most stirring sentences for me, other than the beautiful language, is let B be finale of seem, because I think that says, when he's talking about seem, it's like the possibilities, what might be, how things might be interpreted.
Those appearances that we can summon in our minds.
Right, but just let be, it's a very kind of Zen response to just live in the now, just let things be the way they are, and don't always be thinking about how things seem or how things appear. And for me, that is kind of the bridge between this imaginative, wonderful, sensuous, exciting, celebratory one part of his brain, and then this very kind of morose, deathly, bored other part of his brain. And it's just let things just be what they are, rather than this dichotomy.
Also in the moment. I mean, the impermanence of pleasure and of beauty, of sex, of spring, of that fecund world where there are flowers to bring, right? The impermanence of that, the ephemeral qualities of that are one. We're feeling them in this first paragraph as well.
Absolutely.
Right? Let the wenches dawdle in such dress, the dawdle.
Right, the kind of slow, easy,
Enjoy the time.
no concern about time, exactly.
Yeah, and this
That's
is
living in the moment.
eventually one realizes, oh, this is a carpe diem poem, a seize the day poem.
And it's all contained in that sentence, let be finale of semen.
Take from the dresser of deal, lacking the 3 glass knobs. I don't know whether as someone who thinks about furniture that speaks to you at all. Well, but you do. You think about the design of everyday objects.
And for me, if there was, a dresser in my life that lacked knobs, I would make knobs. So to me, this talks about a kind of vacancy, a vacancy of purpose, a vacancy of something missing, something not fulfilling its function, and
and deteriorating. It's not
definitely.
just there were knobs,
right.
and a level of care and of imaginative investment
is gone. And knobs are the decorative, aspect of it. It's the part that your hand touches. So it's kind of the connection to the use, and they're missing. So it's that sense of connection it's implied that is missing. I'm not sure that a non-furniture maker would think about it that way.
No, that's why I'm so glad I have a furniture maker.
I don't know what the dresser of deal is, though. I've never.
Is cheap pine.
Oh, see, I've never used it.
Right. Well, why would you? An aspiration to the aesthetic is here too.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. And it's missing. It's an aspiration, but it's missing.
Or it's lost, or it's on which she embroidered fantails once.
Once is the word, right? Yes. Because it's all about the past, and fantails, are beautiful. It's the only beauty in the whole, other than ice cream. It's the only beauty in the whole paragraph, and it's once, it's past. It's like the missing knobs.
Yes. Although they cover, right, and spread it so as to cover her face. If her horny feet protrude, they come to show how cold she is, and in the resonant, sort of funereal way you read it, and dumb. The conjunction here of this aesthetic, imaginative object of use and of beauty, and the body.
Right. Still and cold, and then let the lamp affix its beam. It's like, coming back to the thing that's so enthusiastic, and the lamp is the light, and maybe some people, I think, would see that as perhaps some sort of autopsy light or something to do with her death. But
it's a different B, right? It's acknowledge that seeming has its day, has its moment, and then in the cold light of our intelligent assimilation of reality.
The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. And it's not just let the lamp shine its beam, it's affix its beam. It's let's freeze this, let's look at this as a frozen moment and remember that the only emperor is the emperor of ice cream, which is pleasure and sensuality and deliciousness. And so
yes, and you've just drawn out the pathos of this poem, and the way Stevens is a warmer poet than he can sometimes seem. That this is a poem where loss and deprivation register as much as
celebration. Absolutely.
Celebration.
Yeah.